If there is one thing I wish I had a more interesting backdrop besides my walls, a few posters, and my bookshelves. But I think Gato and Gojo and Nanami in the background are decent enough. We're trying our best here. So for today's video, I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel, and I want to formally introduce myself. If you are new here, which you probably are, you probably haven't seen my last video where I talk about me writing a book in a year, but I formally wanted to do a proper introduction on who I am, what I do, and just so we can all get familiar with each other, I'm going to do the Authortube challenge, the Authortube scenario, just so we can just kind of get to know each other and I could further explain who I am. If you haven't seen my last video, I talked about me basically writing what I want to be my debut novel in a year, but we're gonna go more in depth on that so we can get to know a little bit more about myself. So we got through the really easy part, who am I? The second question is going to be, what do I usually write? So if you did watch my first YouTube video, hint, hint, please go watch it. I basically talk about how I wrote a book in a year, and that book is Project Everything, which if you want to know the title of it, you can find it on my social medias. But here on YouTube, we're gonna call it Project Everything. And this bad boy is fantasy. Fantasy is usually my go-to genre. This is not my first fantasy book that I've written, but I love writing it. It's a really fun genre. When I'm not writing fantasy, you can also find me writing things like sci-fi, a dystopian. Currently, one of my work in progresses is a sci-fi, and I'm currently stepping out of my comfort zone, and my other draft is a thriller. Our next question that we have here is, what is your goal for starting an Authortube channel? I mostly want to document my journey. So for Project Everything, I do want to get this traditionally published. All of my past stories have either been kept to myself or, again, watch my last video. I did talk about and mention how when I was in high school, I had a short little animated series that I created, and that was the only thing I've ever publicly published into the world. And this has always been a goal of mine to publish more stories. It doesn't really matter what platform it's on. I just really want to put more stories out into the world, especially stories with POC and BIPOC characters. Goal that I have for myself this year for the channel and myself as a person is I want to document the journey of me trying to get traditionally published. So again, I'm gonna keep talking about that. I kind of talked about my goals, saying that I did want to get the book traditionally published and hopefully, keyword, get a book deal by the end of this year of good 2026. Now, it's a stretch. I know. It's not impossible, but it's a stretch. That is still ultimately my goal. If I don't make it, it's okay, because like I said, it's a stretch. But you got to put your best feet forward sometimes for certain things. And we're going to be optimistic and we're going to be positive. I know the pipeline to getting traditionally published can be very hard, but we're in it for the long haul. We're going to try. So with this channel, I want to document pretty much everything. So I want to document me editing. I want to document me talking about what editing is. I want to talk about the querying stages. I want to talk about what it's like getting an agent, what it's like editing with an agent, and then of course what it's like going on submission and hopefully, let's not say hopefully, and getting that book deal. I want to serve this YouTube channel as kind of like my own little time capsule so that if I ever feel down about myself or if I ever feel like I'm not doing enough, I could go back and look at it and be like, wow, nah girl, you did that. But also I want to leave these videos on a public domain so that other people who are either in the same trenches as me, who are in the same position, can look at these videos and kind of get advice. I follow many other YouTubers who have already gone through the querying stages, who's already gone through the submission stages, and I just constantly watch their video and I keep rewinding it and I'm just watching it and I keep getting more and more information that helps me. So I hope me doing this helps more people, because I think that's nice. I think helping people help people is great. I also mostly want to document this for my fellow BIPOC authors. I don't think there's a lot of us out there. And I know it can be very daunting when you don't really get to see yourself doing something that you feel like you want to pursue. But because you're not seeing someone like you doing it, you're like, is this for me? There are many authors that I do follow on like threads and stuff. BIPOC authors I follow on threads that talk about their journey. But I also want to like be a stepping stone for other people so that they could see that we're here. We're just quiet. We're just in a corner, just hanging out. I need to get more Studio Ghibli stuff. This one's from Hot Topic, and it's so cute and it's so comfy. I wish they had a Spirited Away one, but they don't. That's kind of sad. But I don't know. Today it just felt like a Studio Ghibli type of day. I feel like Studio Ghibli is really like the pinnacle of like fantasy, and I want more like Studio Ghibli merch. This is the only thing that I have. I need more. I really want like Spirited Away merch, but the area that I live in is not very anime friendly. It's not that it's not anime friendly, it's just no one here's are nerds, which is sad. I'm still not used to like setting up the camera and having to sit here and talk, but you know what? We're getting used to it, and we're gonna do our thing. Our next question that we have here is, what made you start writing? I've always loved writing. I've been a nerd like that ever since I was a kid. I would always create small short stories. My first short stories always involved like wild dogs or wild cats. I don't know if anyone here, well, probably if you were in the weird fandoms back in the early 2000s, you probably know what the book's Warrior Cats and the book's Survivors is, where it's just basically wild dogs and wild cats on crazy adventures, and that fandom got way bigger than I expected it to be, but just know I was a part of it at some point. I always loved just the act of storytelling and the act of just creating something out of nothing, or just being inspired by something so simple and then using that inspiration to create something so intricate into a story. Even if that story doesn't really tell you an overall lesson, I just love the act of someone being able to get something and to create something else out of it. And I've always wanted to be involved in something like that. I'd mentioned earlier that I did have an animated story, and that was a time in my youth. I'm not going to say what it is because that thing's going to die with me. But if you find it, keep it to yourself. And if you don't find it, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I can't help you. But I just love storytelling. I've always loved it. I've just always been obsessed with it. Stories have just been something that's just helped me overall in my life, and I want to be a part of that. I want someone to be able to pick up my story and it changes something in them, whether it changes the way they view things, whether it changes the way they approach a situation, or just simply give them that escape that they need. Because back then, that's what some stories did for me. I kind of already answered this next question, but it is, what is your publishing path? I want to be traditionally published. The goal here, though, is even if I don't get a book deal by the end of the year, we definitely want to get that book deal in 2027. I want to be traditionally published by a big 5 publisher. Again, it's a stretch, I know, but it's possible, and that's all we're going to think about. Some of my stories are simply just for fun, where I'm just like, this will be a really fun concept, but I don't think it would go anywhere. But currently, Project Everything is the book that I'm going to go with for getting it traditionally published. I currently have it planned out as a trilogy, and it is hard to get a trilogy deal as a debut author, but you know what? You miss the shots that you don't shoot, or you miss the shoots that you don't... What's the saying? I don't know. You miss the shots that you don't shoot. I think that's it. And you might as well aim for the stars, and it never hurts to dream big. So that is my all-time goal. I want to be published by a top 5 publisher with an upper YA fantasy trilogy debut. My next question is, what content do you bring to the Authortube table? I don't know. Next question, what's your biggest writing struggle? For me, it's always been the middle parts of a story, if that makes sense. Like, I've always been really, really good with the beginning then the kind of middle, like that weird part in the middle, then the ending. But that weird little gap in between the middle of the first act and then the conclusion of the whole story, it's like I always find myself struggling with it, but I found the solution. But we're going to talk about my solution in my next video, so stay tuned for that. Next question is, what's your best writing skill? I don't want to toot my own horn, but I do think I'm really good with creating characters, especially creating like lore and backstory for those characters. I just love that. I love it so much. So our other question that we have here is, what are you most excited for during this new fresh start on Authortube? The journey. I'm so excited. I feel like I've watched pretty much every video on Authortube where people are starting up and they're talking about the editing stage and they're talking about querying. And I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, I've seen everything. And I'm just excited to finally experience that for myself and document it. I think it's super exciting no matter what the, results are. And I'm just ready to finally start driving down this road and to see where this path takes me. One of the things that I really want to do is, I'm not going to post it anytime soon, but I'm going to record myself soon asking my future self questions. And then of course, in the future, I'll record myself answering those questions. I love those types of videos so much. I don't know what it is about it. It feels so cinematic and it just feels so raw and real. And I can't wait to do that for myself. And then of course I can't wait to post it and look at myself, just talking to myself and just seeing what the future holds. I'm the type of person that I'm just really anxious for what's going to happen to myself and what's going to happen to my career in the future. Is something that I constantly think about. It's something that drives me up a wall, frankly. But this is something that I don't feel anxious for. I'm nervous, but it's a good type of nervous. And I can't wait for all of you guys to join me on this adventure too. And that's it. Soon I'm going to be talking about this bad boy, Project Everything again, and I'm going to talk about what the editing stage is like, and I'm currently sending this out to beta readers, so that's going to be fun. But if you're interested in following me on this journey, make sure to click the subscribe button and of course hit the little bell icon so that you're always notified when I post a video. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for allowing me to take up some of your time, and I hope you have a pleasant day and may the stars guide your path.